Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, where today we finish poking around Vistenza's estate, and then get ourselves back out in the field. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious at this point that there is something very wrong here, but forewarned is forearmed. There's still more clues to glean, and you never know what might be important for later plot resolution, so let's see what else we can glean.
What did you just say? Or was it not you? The voices are growing stronger. Why? Something's not right.
That's probably fine. Also some word there about the Anaris family collapsing. Name doesn't sound familiar, but we'll keep it in mind.
I always keep my options open.
Attilius Quint. The stooped man wearing a cloak of the Adeptus Administratum is reviewing information on a data slate, while his quietly whirring mechanical arms fill a long scroll with writing. Upon noticing you, the man stretches his thin lips into a smile, then deferentially bows. The light in the eyes of the servo skull hovering over his right shoulder gently pulsate. Your Lordship, what an honor it is to address you in person. Allow me to introduce myself, Attilius Quint, Prefectus of the Officio Agricultae. I will preserve the record of our conversation forever. You're recording this. Your Lordship, I painstakingly record every conversation with high-ranking personages, and afterwards I fill out all 7 accompanying forms personally. Attilius rolls up his completed scroll in a practiced gesture, stows it away, and pulls out a new one. Your words and judgments are in good hands. Attilius's mechanical fingers fly over the scroll as he fills in another line. And of course, what great fortune it is to see, for the very first time in all my years of service, an emissary of the Navis Nobilitae here on Janus. I humbly welcome the esteemed... Layla, you're not a member of the Navis Nobilitae. Cassia Tisifia Evriela, Lady Navigator of House Orselio. Everything from her condescending gaze and confident bearing to her calm but commanding voice marks Cassia as the heiress of a great bloodline. Awestruck, the secretary writes down each letter of her name with particular fastidiousness. I admire your work ethic. Nice to see we have at least a few professionals around here. I thank you. Moments such as the appearance of a rogue traitor must be preserved for posterity. So you've recorded all your interactions with other notable figures? What about Vistenza? What are your thoughts on her? The governor is a superb leader. She possesses an excellent grasp of all matters and never uses an incorrect form for a given situation. I do not pry into her personal affairs, but if I may speak plainly, a lady who fills out paperwork with such finesse cannot be a bad person, in my view. Right, okay, so you might actually be too professional for your own good. But, what are your thoughts on her helper, Murliette, the mutant? Attilius looks askance at Murliette and offers a strained smile. A highly exceptional individual. After today's regretful event, I am beginning to hold her talents in particular esteem. Verily, even mutants who have seen the light of the God Emperor can faithfully serve his flock. Moreover, Murliette's particular abilities could be an interesting subject of study for the Magos biologists. That elongated head shape, those eyes. Judging by the skull that was given to me to send on to Footfall, such developmental anomalies on Janus are not a quirk of nature, but some kind of inheritable trait. Murliette freezes completely, turning into a living statue. What did you say? Oh, madam, have my words upset you? I'm certain that your kinsman would be delighted to learn that people wish to make pretty presse-papier out of his remains. And besides, I could be wrong about the nature of his origins. Wait, so you have the skull of one of Yurliet's kinsfolk? And you're sending it to Footfall as part of an art project? It was part of a commission for a jeweler, your lordship. One of the ladies of the court sent this trinket along with precise instructions for the artisan, who was to encrust it with precious stones. One moment. Interesting. Why would one of the courtesans have an Eldar skull? Just found it lying around, I suppose. After rummaging in a nearby container, Attilius draws out a parcel, which he immediately unwraps. Here it is. I believe the finished piece was intended to be given as a gift to the governor, but under the current circumstances, I doubt I will be able to send it to Footfall any time soon. Yurliet stares at the skull in silence. You can see her jaw working under her delicate skin. After a few seconds, she abruptly turns away. Pascal's mechadendrites reach towards Attilius with interest, seeming to unnerve him a little.
Adequately preserved. It is a pity that it is empty inside. It could have become a proper servo skull herald for the rogue trader. Unorthodox.
I appreciate the thought, Pascal, but I'm good, really. I'm good. Put it away, now. Oh, yes, of course, of course. Attilius hurriedly returns the skull to the container. So, Quint, aside from making them bones, what exactly do you do here? By the grace of the God Emperor, I oversee the administrative apparatus on the planet and serve as secretary. I am also responsible for the logistics related to supplying the planets of the Von Valancius dynasty and the timely payment of tithes to the Imperium's official collectors. Right, speaking of which, when are the next tithes due? I know we've got people to handle that, but I'd still like it for my own records. Oh, your lordship, our supply shipments are all in order. All foodstuffs and other items are ready for export and are simply awaiting the arrival of the transport ships. However, given the current circumstances on the planet, Janus could not provide even one tranche more than what is already prepared. I am certain the situation will be rectified in the near future. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. When was the last time the ships came through? Oh, your lordship, I must confess that as yet I have not had the pleasure of filling out a sacred tithe protocol form, as the last Imperial ships to come here did so under my predecessor. Come to think of it, that would have been several decades ago. I do hope the logisticians responsible for such an unforgivable oversight lose their heads over this. So it turns out that not only is the local leadership neglecting to observe proper Imperial faith, but they're also neglecting to pay Imperial tithes. Yeah, that's probably normal and fine. Nothing to read into there. I think I've heard enough. As you wish, your lordship. Hey, Quint, you get regular reports, right? What's the current situation on Janus? Alas, your lordship, rebellions have caused us too many problems in recent times. The rebels are interfering with established processes, interrupting supply, sabotaging the serfs' work. A few nobles have even been killed, and worst of all, some of the victims occupied important administrative posts. Until their replacements pass their checks, complete all their induction forms, and go through the official appointment procedure, important paperwork is going unsigned. It's a bureaucratic catastrophe. If things continue in this vein, I dare not even imagine what it could lead to. There are worlds that are ravaged by war for generations. Generations, your lordship. Like that deranged planet by the nameless star. So close to our own peaceful system. The inhabitants there supposedly live under the patronage of rogue trader Winterscale. I shudder to think what he has created there. Yeah, he's supposed to be the patron for footfall, too. Which obviously isn't working out as intended. What about the rebel activities? What can you tell me about those? Of course. I would be delighted to furnish you with all the information I have. In the last few months, 15 organized attacks and 7 terrorist attacks have been perpetrated. Irrigation equipment has been sabotaged in agrarian sectors 3 to 5, transport routes 27, 413, and also... I suppose this will not tell you much. Please. With a fussy gesture, he presses several buttons on his data slate screen, and a 3-dimensional map with coordinates of the attacks appears on your cogitator. The data is superbly collated. The map clearly displays the actions of the rebels. At first glance, there seems to be no logic to their campaign. But after analyzing the data and the features of the terrain, you notice a clear system indicating a geographical pattern to their attacks. I see. Whoever's behind this is clearly a strategic genius. Do we know anything about the rebel leadership? Who's actually calling the shots? The rebels are well armed and well trained. What's more, the governor's advisors are inclined to think that the instigators of the rebellion are very familiar with the planet's terrain and climate. My ordinates are going through registration records day and night, looking for individuals who have completed military training. But we have so far been unable to identify the scoundrel. So what exactly have you been doing? What steps have been taken to thwart their plans? Our security services are tracking those who support the rebels, and our regular wardens are wiping out those saboteurs without the slightest mercy. But they keep on appearing. My scribes have been run off their feet, keeping records of all the public hearings and executions. But I am confident that the governor will find a solution soon. Well, you're not wrong. Her solution was to ask us to deal with it. Thanks, Quint. Of course, your lordship. What about the attack on the estate? That was the first direct attempt on Vistenz's life, right? A disgraceful incident. Simply disgraceful. I cannot believe these scoundrels would dare to come so close, and to drag the nobility into this as well. If they penetrated the estate, that means they had help from some worthless servant or other. Security is currently questioning the survivors, but the culprit has not been found. Yet. Attilius Quint smiles unpleasantly. Right, yeah. Well, good luck with that. I'm sure you'll find your guy. Quint, it's been interesting. Thank you. I should get going. I look forward to meeting you again, your lordship. Yeah, you too. Nice enough guy. Maybe not great at putting together the greater picture, but I suppose few are. Alright, let's check the lower area. Then we should be set.
Is there money to be made?
Ooh, and already on cleanup. Glad we looted while we had the chance. Your lordship, pay no mind to the bodies. We're waiting for the estate to be cleared completely so we can be rid of this trash. The deceased's arms and faces are covered in small boils that ooze cloudy pus, even after death. These are marks of corruption, not decay or disease. But how? How indeed. Dried berries. Wrinkled fibrous berries covered in short fuzz. Very nice. And fortunately we do have some agricultural experts who I'm sure can give us some insight there. But first... Faster! Faster! The sooner we smoke out this louse, the sooner we can report that the clearance operation is complete. A hulking man, dressed in a uniform marking him as an officer of the gubernatorial wardens, is closely monitoring his subordinates as they surround the building. Sensing your approach, he whips around, his face going pale, and he offers a low bow. Your lordship, please do not stray too close to the building. One of the terrorists from today's attack has holed himself up in there. He could be dangerous. Is that so? What exactly is happening here? Ready to report, your lordship. We conducted a sweep of the area after the attack. All of the assassins were arrested or neutralized except for one. The officer scowls darkly. He sealed himself inside. He already injured 2 wardens who tried to reach him. But there's no need to worry. We'll poison him and clear the last dregs of dirt from the estate. I have only one question, officer. Why have you not already done it? The rogue trader is here, and the longer you delay, the more you put his life needlessly at risk. The officer flinches slightly at Abelard's snarl. It is inexcusable, your lordship. The barrels of poison were only just delivered. But we're ready to begin now. So you're just going to kill him? The officer nods. We're using insecticide from our stockpiles, your lordship. We don't have any military-grade poisons, but we don't need them. Not for this parasite. Any idea who he is? The officer's brow furrows. To tell the truth, your lordship, I'm more concerned with clearing the area right now than with his identity. We're not expecting to get any valuable intel from him, unless we find something on his corpse after we've done the job. What exactly is this structure? What's it normally used for? It's one of the utility buildings. Fortunately, it was empty at the time of the attack. There were no potential hostages or innocent people inside. If you ask me, I think this was the first place the killer came to when he was beating his retreat. We managed to round up all the others, but this one holed himself up in there.
This is not an empty utility building, but an inactive backup crypt for storing refrigerant and freezing equipment. This is obvious. Your ignorance is depressing, servant.
Sorry. Alright, Pask, you gotta chill, bud. Hold off on the poison. I'd like to speak with this one first. Are you sure? It's not exactly safe, your lordship. The officer's eyes involuntarily sweep over you, sizing you up. I'm sorry, did I misspeak? Do you really need me to repeat myself? The officer seems to remember himself and offers another low bow. Forgive me, your lordship. Act as you see fit. At the officer's signal, the other wardens take a deferential step back, clearing your path to the door. Nice. But, you know, guy's just doing his job. I can appreciate that. When you approach the solid-looking door, a high, boyish voice shouts out, "Piss off! You won't take me alive! Better to put a bullet in my brain than let the governor's dogs get their hands on me." Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. The door looks solid and formidable, but you notice dark marks on the hinges. A sure sign that the material is degraded. The lock doesn't look new either. With a suitable tool, it could easily be opened. I can assure you I'm not one of the governor's dogs. In fact, quite the opposite. She's one of mine. I'm Valen von Valancius. You know, ruler of this planet. I'm just here to talk. Do you think I'm an idiot? Take your lies and choke on them. You and your damn mistress. Alright, I tried. It takes you half a minute to figure out the archaic mechanism, With a soft click, the door opens, allowing you to enter. Inside is poorly lit, but you spot a person standing in the far corner. He is desperately gripping a discharged lasgun in his hands. At the sight of you, his eyes widen in recognition and fear. It can't be. The rogue trader! Yeah, I told you that on my way in. The young man, practically a boy, falls to his knees and stretches out his bloody hands towards you. His clothes are burned on one side and grimy with baked-in blood. Your lordship, have mercy! You are the sovereign of this planet! Only you have the power to save us! From anything in particular, or just in general? From Governor Viat. Everybody here knows what she's doing to us. We've put up with it for a long time, hoping that somebody would intervene and help us. But nobody ever did. She's turned the whole world into a slaughterhouse. People are rounded up like groks from the settlements, supposedly to go to the palace, and they're never seen again. Her servants pour something over the fields, and then people lose their minds. They start hearing voices and seeing evil spirits. And while we're dying, she's sitting behind her white walls and feasting on our bones. Your Liet's face twists. Sacrifices, madness, pain, and death? Even in so primitive a society as this, such rites seem senseless, not worthy of such effort. What is this, a random quirk of nature, or something darker? I was taught that peasants have a tendency to exaggerate their suffering due to sloth and weakness of spirit. But this young man, vermilion thorns pierce every centimeter of his body, and gray shackles bind his hands, feet, and neck. There are no lies in his words, only terror and desperation without end. You're telling me you've got ghosts cropping up on your farms? You know, there's a time I would have called you crazy, but I guess I've seen some pretty crazy stuff myself. Yes. Others are going feral and attacking their loved ones. And then there's... The boy lowers his voice. People say that in some settlements, well, they've stopped upholding the law altogether. Imperial law and the law of basic human decency. People are turning into animals. Look, you're right. There's clearly something strange going on this planet. I need to meet with your leaders. He swallows nervously and looks at you with fear. Your lordship, I beg you, don't ask me that. I can't sell out my brethren. It's over for me, but the others... I won't betray them. I'm not asking you to betray them, kid. I'm asking you to help me resolve whatever's happening here. And that won't happen unless I can get a face-to-face. You want this war to end, right? The boy hesitates for a few seconds, and then his head drops limply. As long as you keep your word. I've never been in their camp. None of us have. Only the chief saw one person from their base. He came a few times, bringing weapons and orders. He said he represented a greater force than we could imagine, and he said that the governor's dogs would pay for their reprisals in the settlements. But that's not where they're hidden. They keep their distance from ordinary folks. We have it all worked out so that if anyone gets caught, the others aren't caught with them. But I swiped the chief's Vox. I thought after I killed the governor, I could use the message coordinates to find the base and hide out there. The boy retrieves the Vox from his pocket and holds it out to you with a shaking hand. That's everything I know, your lordship. Thanks. I'll put it to good use. Now, as for you... Oh, no, I feel like we can do better than just mercy killing him. Wow. It is very telling, though, that that is considered our iconoclast option. My goodness. Oh, Warhammer 40k. Come on, kid. On your feet. As long as what you've told me is true, I'll make sure you get out of here alive. The rebel looks at you with bewilderment, and then bows low before you. When he speaks, his voice trembles. Your lordship, thank you. Thank you for this kindness. I never thought I'd survive this. The officer of the wardens casts a disdainful look over the rebel before turning his gaze to you. Your lordship, I honor your bravery. Please, allow me to get rid of this rat for you. Stand down. This lad has given me valuable intel about the rebel operations. True to my word, he's free to leave. Escort him to the edge of the estate and see to his release. A dumbfounded expression appears on the officer's face. With the deepest respect, your lordship. The officer thinks better of his next words and abruptly bows. It will be done. Hey, you're learning. Thank you, your lordship. Without your patronage, I would already be dead. Yeah, you're not wrong. If I'd gotten here even a minute later, they would have hooked up that poison and exhausted your options. Can't go through life fuming like that. Gotta learn to vent. Oof, they are killing me with these skill checks. But no, I actually did double check. There is no current difficulty modifier on skill checks. They just honestly seem to have ramped up the skill checks across the board.
Operation.
Hey, there we go.
Successful.
Which immediately pays back the multi-keys we just burned. Ooh. Disinfection device. Grants plus 15 to carouse. That's new. I mean, generally speaking, Valen isn't really the sort to go carousing anyway, but still. Still, there may be times when that is of importance, so let's go ahead and get that slotted. We also pulled that Rebel Vox, which sadly does not actually let us read their conversations. I'm sure those would be insightful. Rather, I think that just gives us immediate coordinates so that we can travel to the rebel leader's base. Though, I mean, even if he hadn't handed it over. Obviously, as the officer told us, we could have just pulled it off his body after. Finding the rebel leaders is obviously crucial to advancing the plot.
Rise to the top, or get left in the dust.
Though, before we do that, let's do another quick pass on the other named NPCs here. See if they have any new contextual dialogue options based on what we've learned thus far. The Magos notices you and offers a dignified bow. Your lordship, how may I help you? I found these berries on the body of one of the dead rebels. Where do you think these stem from? Your blessing for the examination, Magos. The Lex mechanic waits respectfully until Pascal nods. The tech priest studies the dried berries and goes still. You hear the distinct clicks as his cerebral cogitators process this information. Creeping creeweed, a typical plant of the Western Hemisphere. We have studied the possibility of industrial cultivation, but the process was found to be inefficient due to the specific requirements of the soil, which is found in the right composition only in the archipelagos of the planet. Ah, okay. No doubt a clue if we had somehow missed the coordinates. Obviously not much to go on, but it would at least help you coast in the right direction.
Keep your wits about you.
Alright, let's go chat up Vistenza, then I think we're good. Greetings, your lordship. How may I be of assistance? Vistenza, you know, when you were telling me about my planet, you somehow neglected to mention that everything here is mutating and trying to kill us. Feels like a bit of an oversight. Magos Vinzelix is a very wise man, but his fixation on evolutionary processes seems a little extreme to me. Janus was heavily cultivated. Forests were cleared and mountains raised across half the planet. It is no surprise that we are still noticing the consequences of those changes. It's possible that the plant mutations are connected to waste runoff from the harvesting equipment, and the changes in wildlife behavior could be a reaction to the expansion of the cultivated area. Vistenza shakes her head with a laugh. Are you surprised by my knowledge of the topic? Our whole dynasty has dedicated itself to taming Janus, this plentiful yet stubborn planet. Every member of the Viat bloodline is versed in the fundamentals of planetary engineering and its consequences. Slanting a look at Pascal, Adira remarks slightly. Looks like the sciences aren't only the preserve of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Doesn't that infringe on the authority of the esteemed Magos?
This statement is true. But who do you suppose were her teachers? The Adeptus Mechanicus. All knowledge flows from us.
Okay, well, even if we ignore the sudden hostility in the plant's flora and fauna, what about the changes to the populace? There's some pretty strange stuff going on out there. I don't deny it. Some of our experiments exact a higher toll on the population than others. You see, recently one of the noble families of Janus has taken on the difficult task of enhancing the attributes of our workers. So far it has involved introducing experimental supplements to their food and mental conditioning in monitored settlements. Sometimes procedures are disrupted and part of the population suffers from side effects. The specialists of the Graves family would be better suited to inform you on this topic, but alas, they are currently engaged in the field. Oh yeah, the Graves. I think I actually have heard of them. Out on a servitor of duty, are they? What about the rumors you've been taking people from their villages in lieu of tithes? What? Really, Valin, you speak as if you actually believe the claims of those wretched peasants. I do not ask anyone to pay the tithes in human bodies. I am reducing the burden on the settlements which have suffered as a result of unsuccessful experiments involving enriched food. And I'm gathering the worst affected subjects, those who are no longer capable of work, for further study. Some among my circle would call such concern for the underclass a weakness which may have incited rebellion among the emboldened rabble. Cassia nods in understanding. Theobald and Felic tried to limit the effect my powers had on the lowborn servants of Urak 5. The station's laboratoriums ran experiments on those who had the misfortune of losing their minds because of my gift. These tests increased our servants' lifespan, and then they joined Felic's side. Yeah, it turns out that sometimes people don't see it as an act of charity or kindness when you're basically just mitigating damage that you forced on them in the first place. Oh, Cassia, you'll get there. You're still learning. What about the Xenos ruins? I've been hearing a bit about those as well, but you neglected to mention them. Turns out you actually neglected to mention quite a bit. I know to what you are referring. Strange structures of an unknown material. For the prevention of any unfortunate accidents, I ordered the area to be declared out of bounds for all. Some things are better off left under a thick layer of dirt, beyond the grasp of even the enlightened minds of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Right. I imagine the esteemed Magos might disagree with you on that, but I suppose that's not the point. The point of bringing it up in the first place seems to be to get another clue as to where the rebels might be based. I mean, what better place than somewhere that the governor has banned people from otherwise going?
Always keep your eye on the prize.
And between that and the geographic data about where creeping Creewood grows, that would certainly give you a good idea where to look. Anyway, let's go hop a shuttle. Then I think we'll be at a good place to call it. Alantech. Your Liette gestures for your attention. As you once sought my help, now I am seeking yours. The time has come to dispel the final shadows on our path. I have hidden the truth from you. I know a great deal about those who are disturbing the peace of the local ruler, and I also know where they are hiding. Allow me to show you the way, on the condition that you bring me to them. I mean, I was already going to do that, but why the sudden concern? I've got to say, the timing is a bit suspect. Perhaps my admission does sound like that. But please, believe one thing. What propels me now is much more important than my earlier silence. Everything you have discovered, everything you have learned from your kind, they are all traces of the same calamity. A calamity that will eclipse all the strife and wars on the face of this world. All the signs were plain to see, but I was here, and the Monkey failed to recognize the coming storm. Please, follow me, Valen. You must, if this world truly matters to you. And what calamity is that? You're still withholding. How do you expect me to trust you if you won't tell me what's really going on? I will reveal the truth very soon, but not here. Not in the place where it seems evil has made its nest. Have patience, Alantech, and trust me. I suppose you're right, this might not be the best place to talk. Besides, I've already lost one Imperial world on my watch. I can't risk losing another. Come on. Let's go, Alantech. I pray to the gods that we are not too late. And off we go, into the wild green yonder. But sadly we are pretty much out of time today, so this is where we're going to have to call it. You all know the drill. We'll hit the pause button for now. We'll take care of the usual off-screen bookkeeping. Make sure we're ready for what's to come. And we will pick up here next time. Should be in for a good bloodbath or two. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Revenant, Alois, CrowkingLoR, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, V23, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Mark Giemza, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG, or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
What did you just say? Something's not right.